Welcome everyone to today's Yandal Resources Investor Briefing webinar. It's a pleasure to have you with us. My name is Nicola Gazzatti from Investor Relations Consultancy Corporate Storytime. Yandal Resources has a portfolio of advanced gold exploration projects in the highly prospective Yandal and Norseman-Wiluna Greenstone belts of Western Australia. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Chris Oorschot, Managing Director and CEO of Yandal Resources. Chris will be walking us through an investor update, which we will follow with a Q&A session. So without any further ado, I'm pleased to hand over to Chris.
Thanks, Nicola. So before I start working through the deck, I think sort of in terms of an opening statement, just want to highlight to those listening that our strategy as an explorer, as a gold-focused explorer, is focused around making new discoveries of scale. Arrakis, which is our most recent discovery, presents all the hallmarks of such a discovery, and Yandal is well funded and has the right team in place to realise what could potentially be a regionally significant discovery. So I suppose looking over 2025, we've had a lot of success, and really it's all about setting ourselves up for 2026. So this year we achieved our second new gold discovery within an 11-month period with Arrakis that was discovered in September this year. This follows a discovery that was made in October last year called Siona. Yandal are making these discoveries by applying a very systematic and geologically driven approach to exploration. And importantly, as we sort of progress exploration and make these discoveries, we're improving our geological understanding of the project and the broader Yandal region. And this is going to lead to more success in the future as we continue to advance these discoveries and focus on new discoveries. We've been able to focus our project portfolio by divesting the Gordon's Gold project. This is also providing some funds. And on top of that, we've also completed a very well supported capital raising. And we also saw the exercise of all our 11-cent options that expired last month, which gives us a really strong funding runway and quite a strong endorsement of our exploration strategy. We do have existing resources across our two projects, 450,000 ounces. And really, as you can sort of see, we're quite well set up to advance exploration into 2026. Quick overview of our capital structure and board and management. I won't dwell too long on this, and we can maybe take some questions on it after the presentation. Key highlights here are really sort of cash raised this quarter amount to approximately 18.9 million. And the other sort of key one here is the appointment of Chris Newman as a non-exec director on the Yandal board. Chris is a very systematic, a very tempered, and a very experienced geologist who's got, I suppose, a very broad scale of skill sets, and it's great to have that on the board. For anyone that's not an investor and is considering investing in Yandal Resources, why now? I suppose the key messages would be we are in the business of making gold discoveries, and we have made two within an 11-month period. This demonstrates that our strategy is working and maturing. We're targeting large-scale discoveries, so more than 1 million ounces. We're not looking for 100, 200,000 ounces. We want these big positions that are really going to add a lot of value to the company and for shareholders. We've really increased our cash this quarter, 18.9 million. We're fully funded for next year. We have a very tightly held register that has its upsides and downsides, but we also got a lot of near-term news flow events that are potentially going to be catalysts for growth in our market cap. So what is Yandal Resources? We're a gold-focused exploration company or discovery company. We've got two assets within the Yandal Greenstone Belt, our namesake. We have Bronzewing, which is a smaller holding in the middle of the Yandal Greenstone Belt. Nice strategic position, existing resources there, a historic mining centre. North of that, we have our flagship Ironstone Barwidgee Gold Project. That's where most of our time and money has been invested over the last couple of years. And that's where we're making these new discoveries with Siona and Arrakis, all within a sort of 11-month period. As you can see in the plan up on screen, we've got a lot of processing within a 100-kilometre radius of Ironstone Barwidgee. We've got some very big companies in the region. We've got some developers in the region. And it's a great part of the world, the northeastern goldfields of Western Australia, to make large discoveries. You get a premium in WA, and we're looking to sort of capitalise on that premium with any discoveries that we make. So why are we so focused on the Ironstone World Barwidgee Gold Project? There's a whole raft of reasons here, but I think the key one is that it's a great geological setting. We've got the right stratigraphy, we've got the right structures, and we've got really good continuity over those structures. It's really underexplored through here. The broader geological setting, particularly in this part of the Yandal Greenstone Belt, has been historically poorly understood and poorly defined. That's because of things like transported cover and complex regolith. And we always knew when we were sort of developing our strategy in 2023 that if we were to come in and acquire some new regional data sets, we'd be able to identify new opportunities. And we've certainly been able to do that. We do have an existing mineral resource out at Flushing Meadows. That's located on granted mining leases, and there's a lot of potential there to grow and develop and expand on that resource. And we'll look to do that in 2026. But lastly, our strategy is working. We've been executing the strategy since early 2023 across Ironstone World Barwidgee. We've made 2 discoveries. It's maturing. Our project knowledge is growing. And as that knowledge grows and our experience of exploring within this part of the Yandal Greenstone Belt expands, we're going to be able to become more efficient at exploration and be able to recognise more opportunities within the belt. So zooming in on the Ironstone World Barwidgee Gold Project, and looking at the 2 new discoveries that we've made recently. Down towards the south, within the New England granite, we made the Siona discovery just on the west side of that intrusion. That intrusion is about 4 by 2 kilometres in diameter. It's really well positioned relative to regional scale structures. And that discovery came off the back of some very good sort of structural work that was done by the team in 2023 and 2024. The more recent discovery, Arrakis, is hosted within the Caledon target area, or Caledon Fold, which is located in the core of our tenement package. This is the more recent discovery we made in September 2025. With Arrakis going forward, it's really all about understanding the extent of the mineralized system. We want to understand that relatively quickly so that we can prepare for our drill season next year. We want to know if there is an economic position out through here, how much drilling is going to be required to transition that discovery into a resource. We want to have that answer by sort of Jan, Feb next year. Out at New England Granite and Siona, we've done a bit of drilling out at Siona. We understand reasonably well its sort of structural setting and its broad sort of geochemical pathfinders, particularly within the regolith profile. Going forward, it's all about stepping back and going, okay, where across the New England granite, where across this large intrusive complex could we find more discoveries like Siona? And that's where we've been doing some air core drilling, looking to identify similar regolith pathfinders and trying to understand where we can get a similarly deformed intrusive margin that could produce something similar or hopefully larger than Siona. And that's really been the focus the back end of this year there. So talking to Arrakis now, which is hosted within the Caledon folds. Up on screen there, you can sort of see this was the first plan we ever released that sort of highlighted the Caledon target area from early in 2024. You can see we've defined this large-scale fold structure truncated by the Idaho shear zone. It's about 3 kilometres wide, 8 kilometres long. That was never previously identified by any other explorers. That's solely something that we've identified by acquiring some good regional data sets. Once we identified it, we went and completed a number of air core programs testing a majority of that fold structure. And that delineated a 2.2 kilometre mineralised trend. And if we were to zoom in on the sort of core of that fold onto the Arrakis discovery, this is what it looks like today. We've got a 2.2 kilometre mineralised trend defined by air core drilling. We've come in and completed a number of fresh rock tests with RC drilling on 400 metre space lines with discovery intercepts on This section here, section A, which looks like this, and a number of other fresh rock intercepts on another section 400 meters towards the north. Those fresh rock intercepts were critical. We know we need fresh rock confirmation of mineralization before we really sort of lock in on a discovery through here because of some of the complexities associated with the regolith profile. But those were really significant intercepts. It demonstrated much broader width than we were seeing in the oxidized or upper part of the regolith profile. And critically, we're also seeing some higher grades associated with that mineralization. Going forward, we've recently completed a small diamond drilling program. That was all about understanding the geological setting, geometry, and the style of mineralization that's associated with this 2.2 kilometer air core trend. Following that, we've also done a small air core drilling program out towards the southeast where that 2.2 kilometer trend is open. We've done 400 meter spaced lines of air core drilling. If we were to intercept the structure on those lines, we'd be extending that trend by another 1.2 kilometers. And we also have an RC drilling program underway at the moment. We're looking to test that 2.2 kilometer mineralized trend on 200 meter space lines. Now, looking at these three sort of programs that we've completed and are currently underway, it's all about achieving that aim of understanding the extent and scale of the Arrakis mineralized system. We want to know where along strike is the highest value component of that mineralized system, where's the broadest mineralization, where's the highest grade mineralization, how is the geometry varying along strike and down dip. And that's going to feed into a sort of key decision point in early 2025 where we sit down and go, okay, is there a resource here? How much drilling is required to potentially realize that resource? And where's the highest value component of this mineralized system? And we're hoping to be in that position by late Jan, early Feb next year. The diamond drilling, we've got some initial results from that, mainly completing some diamond tails on holes 40 and 41. Both those diamond tails have extended mineralization. They've really given us a good feel for the geological setting of Arrakis, particularly on this section. I think some of the key outputs are really that we're dealing with a subvertical mineralized structure. We've got a dolerite footwall out towards the west. We've got a pillar basalt hanging wall out towards the east. And the mineralization is really quite what we call strata bound or hosted within this volcano-sedimentary sequence that also includes some potential intrusives as well. What's nice with the diamond drilling is that it's sort of confirmed on this section an approximate true width of about 35 meters. It's also confirmed that we do have this sort of high-grade component there that seems to be associated with the eastern side of the mineralized structure. As I said, we've got a lot of news flow coming up ahead of us. So we're expecting more results from diamond drilling over the next couple of weeks and into January next year. We're anticipating some results from the air core drilling that we completed towards the southeast. And we've also got this RC program underway at the moment. We're going to get RC results from that program over the next 4 to 8 weeks. So switching down to New England granite, again, we made that Siona discovery located in this sort of pocket on the eastern side in October last year. We've done a bit of drilling through there. We understand its structural setting and its sort of geochemical footprint. Our focus really this year or late this year has been stepping back and trying to identify more areas where the New England granite margin is deformed and ideally where we're getting more dilation and more veining, which we know is associated with higher grades. So we've identified a number of target areas. We've tested some of those with air core this year. We're going to continue testing, particularly that western margin with air core into next year. To date, we've tested about 5.5 kilometres of deformed intrusive margin, predominantly on the eastern side. Next year, we're hoping to test another sort of 5.5 kilometres of the western margin. With the air core, we're quite confident that it'll be able to identify the sort of broader alteration halos and sort of geochemical pathfinders that we associate with Siona. And that'll hopefully allow us to sort of delineate some more precise targets that we could come in and test with RC during next year's drill season. Again, out at New England Granite, Siona was a great technical discovery, but we really think there's a lot more potential here for more mineralization and more discoveries. And we are chasing that sort of, greater than 1 million ounce sort of discovery within this newly identified granitic host within the Yandal Greenstone Belt. Stepping back and moving away from our discoveries, we do have an existing resource out at Flushing Meadows. This is located about 7 or 8 kilometres northwest of our Arrakis discovery. The resource is predominantly oxide transitional material. As you can see on screen, it has quite a significant strike extent. The sort of strike extent of the resource is about 1.9 kilometres. It's relatively shallow. We haven't done a lot of fresh rock drilling across that trend. And we think that brings a lot of upside because we don't really understand the geological controls and geological setting particularly well. And we haven't really looked at what the sort of resource potential is of sort of that fresh rock position. We know there is some high grade components within the oxide, and we're quite interested in seeing what happens with those at depth within fresh rock. We've been working through some access and heritage sort of surveys over the last couple of months out at Flushing Meadows. We're hoping to have them all cleared by early next year, where we'll come in and complete a number of programs. And that's going to include things like a sort of broad fresh rock test below that resource to understand, firstly, the geological setting and what the sort of fresh rock resource potential is, but also start to look at testing some opportunities long strike, particularly towards the southeast. And also we've got this target, which is sort of a reciprocal or sort of inverted position on the other side of this volcano sedimentary package called Getty Prime, which we're quite interested in testing and completing some air core lines over as well. So a great opportunity here to potentially grow the resource, make some near deposit discoveries and potentially some newer discoveries out towards the east. The last one here is Mount McClure. So during the year, we actually looked at selling or divesting Mount McClure. The primary reason for doing that was to fund exploration at Ironstone Well, Barwidgee. Given that we've been able to raise cash through the exercise of those options, the sale of the Gordon's Gold Project and the placement we completed a couple of months ago, we're quite well funded now. So the prime reason for divesting Mount McClure is now gone. And so we're quite happy to pause that process, retain the project and start doing a bit more work out at Mount McClure. We know there's a lot of opportunity to grow the resources and make some near mine discoveries through here. And sort of the two key ones for us are chasing some of the high grade shoots that are associated with those historic open pits, including Success, Parmelia and Challenger, but also testing some shallow parallel mineralization opportunities adjacent to those historic open pits. And we had a lot of success with HMS sulfur, which was really our proof of concepts, where we've got this mineralized position, which is controlled by the same structures as that sort of control mineralization across those historic positions. They're just interacting with a different stratigraphic horizon, and that's a fairly they're fairly low cost tests for us. And so we'll look to progress both of them during 2026 as well. So as you can sort of see, we've got a bit of a sort of time frame up on screen. The next couple of months is really all about results as we sort of finish up our program for 2025. We're waiting for more results from diamond drilling. We're expecting the next lot in the next week or so, particularly hole 11, which is the next one we're anticipating. We're waiting on those air core results from the sort of southeast of Arrakis, but also from New England granites as well. They'll be coming in over the next couple of weeks as well and across sort of January. And then there's the RC program where we're anticipating results over a sort of 4 to sort of 6 week period, hopefully all in by sort of late January, early February. As I mentioned, these results are really going to help us understand the scale of our follow-up programs across Arrakis when we head into the drill season in sort of late Feb, early March next year. On top of all this as well, we're doing a lot of work to improve our site infrastructure so that we can bring in an expanded team and it really accelerate and ramp up exploration in 2026. So while we'll be a bit quieter in Jan, Feb, because that's our wet season, that's typically when we get a lot of rainfall, which really restricts our ability to move rigs around and get fuel to site. We'll use that time to get this infrastructure up in place, get that expanded field team in place and sort of current on all our sort of models and geological targets. And then we can push the button and really start to execute and ramp up in March next year. So that's, I suppose that's the sort of update I was hoping to get across. I've got some key sort of investment highlights up on screen. As I sort of said during the presentation, we've made 2 new discoveries in 11 months. These are new discoveries from concepts. They're not historic prospects, and both of them have significant potential in terms of resources. We've got a very strong cash position as we head into 2026, and we're really looking to ramp up. We're expanding our sort of infrastructure up on site. We're building the team to support that ramp up. Our projects in the Yandal Greenstone Belt are really strategically located. We've got a tight register, very supportive shareholders. We've got a number of potentially significant results coming in over the next few weeks and months. And last one, which I haven't really touched on, we've got a really strong and supportive working relationship with our traditional owners. We've done more heritage surveys within their claim than any other company within that region. And we've really enjoyed working with them in 2025, and we look forward to advancing that relationship in 2026. So that's it from me, and I'll hand it back over to Nicola and the team to start looking at questions.
Thanks so much, Chris. We'll now move on to our Q&A session. My first question for you is, does the depth and width of mineralisation at Arrakis suggest that an open pit rather than an underground mining operation is likely?
Yeah, so I suppose a few things there. Firstly, is that Arrakis is very early stage, and the drill spacing is quite broad. So we're currently at 400 meters sort of spacing where we've got fresh rock intercepts. The RC program at the moment is going to bring us down to 200. In terms of are we looking at an open pit or underground sort of resource? It's very early, and I'll sort of preface this with a sort of bit of a disclaimer is that we don't really know enough yet. But with the widths of mineralisation that we're seeing at a lower grade cutoff, for instance, on the section that has holes 40 and 41, that 35-meter true width, that's the sort of width that you'd expect to, and that width and grade should support an open pit subject to how mineralisation behaves higher up on that section within that weathering profile. But what's also nice is that we're within that broader style of mineralisation, we are seeing some higher grades, which could support potential underground as well. So at this early stage, we're seeing opportunity potentially for a resource that could support open pit production, but we're also seeing potential for higher grade, which might support underground production as well. It is very early stage, but we think we have an opportunity potentially for both.
Thanks, Chris. My next question for you is, can you elaborate a little on the high-grade zones observed at Arrakis? Does the high-grade mineralisation appear to be hosted in fresh rock or in oxidised zones?
Yeah, so where we've hit high grades, particularly in the more recent RC and diamond results, that's all in fresh rock. We really need to make sure we've got fresh rock tests so that we can rule out things like supergene mineralisation within oxidised or weathered rock. So it is all fresh. The higher grade, it seems to be associated with, at the moment, the eastern margin of that volcano-sedimentary sequence that hosts mineralisation. And it's really associated with this really dark grey silica sulfide alteration. It's almost like a purpley grey in colour. And we've been able to see a little bit of that within the diamond drilling as well. But we do see it quite prominently in all the RC results that have got mineralisation over sort of 1.5, 2 grams per tonne.
Thanks, Chris. My next question is, how does the company plan to address the practical logistical challenges associated with operating in a remote location?
Yeah, I mean, it is the northeastern goldfields, but we are quite distal from any sort of major regional centres. We quite reliant on unsealed roads. So one of the things for us heading into 2026 is to really set up and improve some of our site infrastructure. So making sure we can establish a camp that's quite close to the more rain-resistant part of the sort of roads that come into the project area, making sure we've got good fuel supply, room for contractors and an expanded team. We're also improving all our comms across sites, making sure we've got things like Starlink in place, refining our data capture systems, and just I think broadly improving some of our processes. But the big one for us really is making sure we've got better site infrastructure at that camp, the ability to process core and cut core up on site's a big one that we want to have in place for early next year as well. And we're well on the way to getting those things in place. So we just finished a small heritage survey out on site to clear an area for that camp, and we're hoping to have that in place by March next year.
Thanks, Chris. My next question: when could we expect a maiden mineral resource for Arrakis?
Yeah, so it's sort of a bit of an open-ended sort of response there because it really depends on, I think, the scale of the mineralized system, which we're trying to understand at the moment, and it also depends on whether we're looking to pursue initially, an open pittable resource, or if there is some underground potential, that sort of underground resource as well. So my answer to that is, we'll have a better idea of what the time frame might be once we get the results from the diamonds, the air core, and the RC that we're sort of completing at the moment. And as I mentioned during the presentation, we're hoping to have that by sort of late Jan, mid-Feb next year. Once we have that information, we'll be able to understand how much drilling is required, and then we can get a bit of a feel for a time frame and how quickly we can complete that drilling. Stepping back more broadly, if we start to see the potential that we hope we have out at Arrakis, I'd like to be in a position to sort of be working towards a resource towards the end of 2026. But don't hold me to that, because if we start to see something really big, we know we're going to need more and more drilling. So we'll see how we go, but we should have more of a refined idea around that time frame by Feb next year.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. My final question for you is, what is the lab turnaround times for assay results at the moment?
Yeah, so we're certainly seeing turnaround time sort of expand. I know there's a lot of companies like Yandal that are trying to get as many holes completed before Christmas, and the labs are sort of feeling that. We do have access to a smaller lab, and we can get some pretty good quick turnaround time from them, but we can't get that on a lot of volume of samples. So we use that quite strategically. When we see something that we think's going to have a good impact on us understanding the Arrakis discovery or other discoveries, we'll flick it through and be able to get that sort of 2 to 3 week turnaround time. But we have to use that sparingly. We can't do that with all our submissions. So our current turnaround time from our main larger lab is about I think it's about 6 weeks, and our smaller lab is about 2 to 3 weeks at the moment. But it'd be nice if it was a bit faster, but with gold prices the way they are, you'd expect the labs to be quite busy.
Thank you so much, Chris. That does bring us to the end of the Q&A session. And as always, if you have any further questions, please feel free to email us at info@corporatestorytime.com. Chris, before we head off today, do you have any final comments you'd like to share?
Yeah, look, I'll probably just reiterate what I said at the start of the presentation, which is that Yandal's strategy is really centered around making new large-scale discoveries. Looking at Arrakis as it stands, it has all the hallmarks of a large-scale mineralized system. Yandal are well-funded. We've got the right team in place to realise what, as I said, could be potentially a regionally significant discovery. And that's what we're really focused on, is unlocking significant value for shareholders by making these big discoveries and trying to understand that sort of value. And yeah, if we can do that, then hopefully we've made our shareholders happy, and we've added a lot of value to the company.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for providing us with a comprehensive update of Yandal's activities. On behalf of the Yandal team and Corporate Storytime, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to welcoming you to our next investor briefing. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Nicola.